Hi guys, this is my first, well really it's my second live stream attempt with YouTube. I'm just going to show some stuff I've been working on, and people can have a look, or, well, have a look at what's going on with it. So, as you may have presumed, I'm currently orbiting a sail in a C-17. Big deal, right? I mean, you know, I stream this a bit over on Twitch, right? Well, yeah and no, we're going to take a look at some code here. So, some of you will recognise this, well, or something similar to this, which is the RAF Virtual Simulation Control Interface. I released a copy of it as the Airdrop and Target Range Control, which was a cut down version of this. And I've been working slowly but steadily on version 2. One thing I didn't like with the existing code base is that when you do an airdrop, it just kinda falls. And I mean, we can actually show that if I open up the existing version here. Hope that it actually comes up, given I'm actually running the exact same thing over here. So this is the old version. I'm just going to drag it off my screen for a moment here and log in. So we may get a stream buffer for a second while it pulls some data down. What I'm going to do once it is in though, is I'm going to get it to do an airdrop of a pallet, just a single pallet, and we're going to look at what it does. Presuming it ever actually connects, because it's taken its time getting the records. But then I don't normally try and do this while streaming. Normally if I'm logged in, I tell it, you know, to wait. So while it's logging in there, this version has a bunch of new code in its flight filing system. In its airdrop system, flight filing, jeez. And what it does is it handles the simulation a lot differently. I mean, it takes over a lot of the background simulation and runs it itself. And I'm actually starting to wonder if this one down here is actually ever going to connect. There we go. Okay. So this is the current one. Like I said, we're going to spawn in one object. So in this one we'd have to go here. We have to tell it to connect to the sim. Large pallet 1. And now if I come in here and tap my water rudder key, we watch it go out, and if we watch it just falls. Rather quickly at that. I mean, it's not falling like a rock, but it's fairly close to it. You would not want to be that as it hits the ground. I've seen bombs that fall slower than that. Mark 82 Snake Eyes for example, so it's hit the ground and yeah, you really wouldn't want to be this poor object here. So the reason for that is that Flight Sim's handling the dynamics for that, and trying to make a parachute dynamics is rather hard. It's really not the easiest thing to do. So what I did was I created some code based on a really great book that deals with simulation. It's got some code in it for airdrops, and I took it and we've implemented it here. And what it does is basically it runs the physics for an object in motion, well, freeform motion, based on proper aerodynamics and all that fun stuff. And we have this running at a rate of 5 milliseconds. So it runs 200 times a second at the moment, which is actually far in excess, I should note, of what the base flight dynamic engine runs at, even for this airplane. This airplane's running at 60 Hertz, so it's running 60 times a second. When I drop an airdrop, a single item from this new version here, it's running at almost 4 times that amount, at least to begin with. So I just clicked the wrong button. You have to wait for this to come up. And like I said, we're streaming, so it's trying to pull data while I'm trying to send a lot of data out. And tell this one to go away. We want this one here. So similar interface, as you can see, though it's on its own little window. And we're going to pay attention to this window as well. So I'm going to do the large palette again, and we're basically almost in the exact same position I dropped it at before. We do have it set to 1, we'll set it to 1 and we'll do a drop. First thing you'll notice is that it's not just falling, it's going down. I mean, we can just see it's just dropped 5 feet, but it's not just falling from the sky. It's acting as an airdrop. You'd expect something under a parachute to act. It's falling at a steady rate. In the case of that one, it's doing so at, currently it's calculating itself every 200 times a second, so it's going to be a very, very accurate simulation of where that one drops. But here's the reason I do this 200 times a second. For every 4 of these objects, the simulation gets more and more complex. So if I drop another 3 items here, so we just dropped another 3. The simulation's running. It's still running at 200 Hertz. It's running every one of these 2 calculations 200 times. So these 4 objects are running at the same accuracy. And we can see, you know, there's nothing here. So I'm going to drop another 4 items. Now the simulation's actually changed. If we look here, we'll see the airdrop multiplier increased to 2. So what's happening here is it's now running each of these at 100 Hertz. So for each group of 4 is running at 100 Hertz, because it's dividing its time on each up by 2, as there's now 2 groups of 4. The simulation's gotten less accurate, but it's still fairly accurate. We can add, so we've now got 8 items here. If we could see, we've got 8 items happily falling from the sky, and if we increase this number, we're going to drop another 12. So we now have 20 objects in the air, and for every 4 of those, we process every 4 of them 0.5 of a second. So the simulation's gotten a little less accurate because at times these are falling using flight sim's dynamics. It relies on flight sim a little bit more. But the other hand, we can drop 250 of these items should we want to. They'll still be fairly accurate. I mean, we've got 20 there at the moment, which is 4 more, and we'd actually have the maximum of pallets in terms of smaller pallets that we could drop from this aircraft anyway. But I mean, if we were dropping skydivers, for example, we could drop up to 200 of them from this aircraft if they're all packed in properly, and this will simulate it. They'll drop and they'll fall at the right rate. Whereas in flight sim, they wouldn't. And the thing here is I can tweak the dynamics fairly easily. It's taking the wind into account, it's taking updrafts, downdrafts into account. And, you know, it's fairly obvious just looking at it that it's a completely different simulation set to what it was before. So let's take this out to, it's at 20 now, we'll take it up to, drop a couple of small pellets here. I haven't dropped any small pellets yet. So this could be actually an interesting test of the code. Small pellets might drop a little too fast and I'll need to adjust the code for that. So we're going to drop 12 small pellets. But I mean, small pellets are under a much smaller parachute as well. And so the other thing was, with the previous version of this, everything was running on the same dynamics. It didn't matter if I dropped a small pellet, a large pellet, a paratrooper, they all ran under the exact same flight dynamics as far as they were concerned. They all fell fairly quickly. In case of this, I've actually got the feeling my large parachute's drag is still a little high. I need to talk to some people I know, find out how long it's likely to take for them to follow, so I can work out rates of descent and the like for them. But we now have 20 we now have 32 objects in motion, and our airdrop multiplies at 8, so we can work out how many times per second each item is being run. Simple calculator. So we'll actually be lazy here and use the calculator. We normally run at 0.005, and we're only running that 8 times a second, so it's really running at 0.04 Hertz on each item. Which is still a really accurate sim. It's just as we come around here, we'll see why I think my large pellets have some of my calculations on the pallet sizes are still out. Maybe not. They seem to be fairly evenly spread there. Small ones under their singles are dropping faster, but not too bad at all. So now we're going to do a paratrooper. Drop out. 36 of them. We'll do it as we come back around over the top of that set. In case you're wondering if these things show up on Plan G or the like, yes they do. If I bring Plan G over here, we can see each set's showing up where they were dropped. There's the set down there. I don't know why we've got a set showing. No, I do know why we've got a set showing here, because there's a set down there. That'd be why we've got a set showing here. It's the second group we did. Then if we can't, as we come back around here, we'll see that we've got another set. So nice to see ISG can actually hold a proper racetrack pattern on us. It's not the best racetrack, it's a little pinched at one end. So we're going to initiate the next airdrop. Out he goes. You can actually see we just had a bunch of items land on the ground down there. Sadly the paratrooper won't show up like that when he lands. At the moment there's a bug with his model. So we have a bunch on the ground over there, a bunch on the ground around here somewhere. if we come over and have a look at this, we can actually see we've got 20 on the ground at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll drop another 32 out this side of the airfield. And we can see here the difference in, if we're actually watching them, we could actually see as the calculation rate adjusted and changed, the simulation itself became a little jerkier on these guys' altitudes. Now, I mean, we've got 72 of them active at the moment. You can see all our lovely crates and the like stacked up down there. See the effect, the small effect of drift on them. That set's about to touch down on the ground over there. Pity we won't be able to see them. As I said, the actual guy's a little busted at the moment. Let's see it doing all of its work. What it does there is it goes through, realises that it no longer needs the object as a fully simulated object, deletes it, runs back through, and because of that it's like, well, I can actually start calculating these stuff a little bit more accurately. You know, the multiplier was at one point here 12, 13, 14, you know, 15, it was getting 16. It was getting up there. And as each of these decreases, it drops it back down, runs it more smoothly. Adjusting on the fly what you want or need it to. So anyway, that's just a quick look at the updated airdrop code. hoping to get similar style code working for the target range stuff. I'm not promising at the moment. We'll see what happens. Anyway, enjoy. Thanks for not watching anyone, but whoever watches this in the future, thanks for taking the time to look. My name's Rob. I'll talk to you later. Bye.